every week we bring out a new guest with an inspirational story. Now this week, I speak to one of the celebrated BBC journalists, Salim Kikeke, and he in with us to speak to us about his story. Welcome to 30 Minutes with Edmond Safari.
Thanks, Edmond. Thanks
So
for
tell
having
us,
me.
who is Salim Kikeke?
Fighter, probably a survivor, and yeah. So that's me in a nutshell. In a few words, yes.
In a few words.
Yeah.
Now take me through your career to date.
All right. It's quite a long story. I started off. Well, my parents wanted me to study agriculture. So when I finished high school, I was sent to an agricultural college in Mwanza, actually, and so I spent 2 years there studying irrigation, and after that went back home, tried to get a job, but as you know how it is, it was quite difficult, and so I didn't know what to do, to be quite honest. I was living with my mum then in Moshi. Like I said, I didn't know what to do, and at some point I did try becoming a businessman. So I had this little shop in Moshi, but it was quite challenging. It was in a new developed area, so there was not so many people living around there. So my shop was the first shop, and I thought because mine was first, obviously I would get more customers, but that was not the case. But it didn't work really, and so I just ended up doing nothing, and so I decided at that point that I'm gonna try and make something out of my life. I've been hearing stories from the Tanzanite mines in Arusha about how people become millionaires overnight, and I thought maybe I should give it a go, and but basically the reason why I had to leave Moshi is because I just thought that I tried business and I couldn't get a job, and I was hanging out with my friends at that time, and we were sort of heading towards getting ourselves into crime, and it's something that I just thought I can't do that. Made me not even to consider getting myself into crime is because my mom was a policewoman.
Interesting.
My mom, was a police officer, so I just thought, no way, I'm not going to go to the police station and get locked up in. So crime was out of the window. So that's when I went to Mererani, to the Tanzanite mines. Spent a year, I think, there, or maybe more or less. Wasn't lucky. So my family asked me to. Life is really, really, really tough in the mine. It's more organized now, but then you would find people who are fleeing from the authorities. It was like a no man's land. Yeah. The police could not actually get into the mines, so it was just, and people, it was just going on, and you had a lot of accidents. Then people, every morning you wake up, you hear story of people dying. We're talking of huge numbers of people dying every day, because the mines were not safe at all. So my family asked me to leave, and I decided to leave.
So you left the mines because your family really asked you to leave?
Yes, it's the family who really wanted me to leave. I was enjoying it. To be quite honest, I was. It was such a rough life. But the prospects of becoming a rich man one day,
overnight,
it just keeps you going, Yeah, so I left the mines, went to Dar es Salaam.
Just a minute before you go to Dar es Salaam, you in the working the mines after being jobless for close to 3 years in Tanzania after your graduation.
Yes, after my graduation, yes. So yeah, that was the time after I graduated, yeah, to a couple of years after, yeah, that's right. And that's when I went to the mines.
What was your parents' reaction, initial reaction, when you started working the mines?
They didn't want me to go. I just left, you know. No, I don't think many parents would leave their children to go to the mines. Clearly my mom did not approve of that, and but I was looking at myself and thinking, what am I doing here? Well, you know, I'm really working hard to find a job, and it's not working.
It's not working.
Yeah, trying business, you know, running a shop, and it's just not happening, you know. So I think it wasn't approved by my family.
So you I want to know from you now. You are this kind of person who just graduated, jobless. You tried your business.
Yeah.
You've actually failed.
Yeah.
Take me through what was going through your mind then.
It's quite difficult, and you're very young. You know, when you're growing up, you just think, get my diploma, I'll get a job, and things will start running fine. But the reality is totally different from that, you know. So when reality actually hit me, and I realized that, okay, I don't seem to be getting anywhere looking for a job, and I'm trying this, and it's not working, and I was getting a bit frustrated, you know, and I just thought, what am I? And I wanted to do something out of my life. I wanted to become someone, you know. I wanted to do something productive, rather than, you know, just hanging around like most young people were doing at that time in that small town. So to be quite honest, I was getting frustrated, and I was getting worried that, you know, why nothing is happening to my life. And like I said, there was an option of, you know, getting yourself into crime, and you would see people who are living in that crime world, and they were doing fine, you know, they were doing okay, but it just, you know, it's decisions you make when you're growing up, and you say, okay, I'm gonna take this path, I'm gonna be an honest person, or you just, you know, take the wrong turn and become someone you probably don't want to become.
So you finally succumbed to your parents' pressures, and you moved to Dar es Salaam.
Yes, eventually, yeah. My mom said every morning I wake up and read the papers and listen to the radio to hear what you know.
So what happened next in Dar es Salaam?
So I went to Dar es Salaam. It was the same story, really. Nothing had changed. Couldn't get a job. Couldn't do this. Couldn't. But I was so determined, and I said, I'm not going to sit here and do nothing. And to be quite honest, my cousin sister who took me in Dar es Salaam, who I was living with, she was doing okay. You know, she had a good life. And so if I had opted to just do nothing, she was happy for me to
stick around.
Yeah, to look after me, you know. So I had cars, for instance, at my disposal, and she would give me, you know, pocket money on a Friday and say, you know, God, have fun. And it was good life, you know. When you're young, you think, I want to live like this forever, you know. But at the back of my mind, I just kept thinking that, you know, I'm gonna have to have something for myself. You know, I have to do something. I just cannot live like this forever, you know. So kept going to look for work, and I remember when I had made a decision that I'm never going to become an agricultural expert. When I came to realize that that's not going to happen, I decided to go to my passion and said, okay, now this is not working. I'm going to try. I've always loved to become a journalist, so I'm going to try journalism. So I kept knocking doors of you know, media organizations and saying, I want to become a presenter, and they would look at me and think, what is wrong with this boy?
So you decide to switch careers.
Yeah.
This time at your own.
Yes.
Your own prayer.
Yeah.
But before we continue with that story, more that, let's take a break and we continue the conversation. Thank you for staying tuned to Urban TV, and my name is Edmond Tafan. I'm so speaking to Salim Kikeke about his story and how he's gotten to BBC. So Salim, you were talking to me about switching careers.
Yes.
Now you're going into journalism,
Yeah.
something that you have done at your own request.
Yes.
How was it?
Yeah, so journalism is something that has always been inside me, and when I was growing up, my mom used to listen to the radio all the time. So she's the one who sort of introduced me into radio and journalism, really. So when I listened to the reports, listening to reporters on the BBC reporting from, you know, war zones and all those crazy places, and I just thought, I really want to do this, you know. So you come back to when I had made up my mind and thought, okay, this agriculture business is not really working for me, and so I literally put on a clean shirt and a tie and say, I'm going to start knocking doors. So I went to all media houses in Dar es Salaam, and yeah, I remember going to the national radio and said, I want to speak to the director. And the security guy was just wondering, are you okay? I said, yeah, wanna, do you have an appointment? I said, no. But I did finally manage to speak to this guy. And so he just walked in and said, you know, I love journalism, I love broadcasting, and I think I would like to come and work here. And well, he said, nah, we don't have any places for now, but yeah, so I've sort of got the same answer to all the media houses that I was going to. And then, so finally I went to this station that had, it's a TV station, but they had just, they were introducing a new radio station. So they had a radio channel, and it was still a test signal. So they were playing music all day. And I was listening to that, one of the first private radio stations in Tanzania. And yeah, so I used to listen to that because they played music quite a lot. And I noticed that when the music runs out, no one is there to change the music. Yeah, so I went to these guys and said, listen, can I come and do that, you know? And I'll do it for free if you know, can't give me a contract. And they said, yes, yeah, you could. So that's how I got myself into.
So that's your first job in the media?
Yes, as someone who sat there with audio cassettes and just, you know, play music. And sometimes I actually used to record myself and play the recording. So I would record myself doing a time check, for instance, and so. And
then listening to yourself.
Yeah, play it on that radio station. So that's sort of how I started, and then worked there for a few months, and then I decided I have to, because I didn't have any journalism background, so I had to go back to college to study journalism, and I did a short course. I didn't do the whole thing, you know. So I came back to the same station, and this time when I came back, I went to work in the newsroom. So I was sort of promoted from the radio, from playing those audio cassettes to a proper newsroom now, and I've always loved newsrooms. So that's how it started. Stayed there for. Actually, I worked for a month in that newsroom, and then something happened. They had to sort of kick me out. And
so before that, now when you start getting your first show,
yeah.
when do you get your first show?
On telly?
Yes.
On TV? No, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I was not on air then at all. I was still working in in the newsroom as a reporter, as a TV reporter. So when things did not quite work well there, that's when I went to the national radio station. This time around, I was successful. I was lucky, and the guy said, "Yeah, you can come and work here." And I remember when I went there, they just thought that just another young man who has nothing to do, and so I was meant to work for the English service, and then so I was just given a desk, and I sat there all day doing nothing. And I thought, no, this is not what I want, So I started going into other departments, trying to do something, and then I remember one day the deputy director of the station. A fine lady came to me and said, "Can you read something in Swahili?" It's so funny. I don't know why she asked me that. I said,
maybe you are speaking out of Kiswahili.
but it's just so I was working for the English service, and so she came to me and said, "Can you read something in Swahili?" I said, yes. And she gave me a script. I went through it. I read it, and she said, "Yeah, that's good." Went to the studio, recorded something, and she loved it. And then the following week, she said she was starting this new radio program, and she wanted me to be the lead presenter of that show. So yeah, suddenly my fortunes had turned. Yeah, so I presented that program. It was in 2000, I think. Tanzania was heading towards elections. And so it was more of a election-based program. So I presented that program throughout until after the elections. And then, now it's a bit confusing, but I'm going to try to be as clear as I can. The first station that I worked for came back to me and said, "Listen, we've heard what you've been doing on radio. We're just wondering if you can come and present our TV news bulletin." I said, "Yeah, why not?" So I went back. I had to leave the radio stuff on with the state radio, and I went to work for CTN now as a news anchor. Yeah, so that was my first ever experience of presenting news on TV. Yes, but it was a news bulletin that was recorded. It wasn't live. Live was still new then, live news, so it was a recorded program, so you had time to adjust things, and if you get things wrong, you can always do another take, so did that for a while, and then moved on to another TV station, a bigger one. And at that point, I was presenting in Swahili and in English, so 2 bulletins. And I was dealing with the international news desk, so yeah, I just felt more at home with that. And then things happened, and I had to move to another TV station. Now, then that was the biggest TV station in Tanzania, and they were looking for someone to come and present the primetime news bulletin in Swahili. So I signed my contract on a Thursday. I presented a short news bulletin in Swahili on Friday, and I was meant to be on prime time bulletin on Monday. On Sunday morning, I got a call from the office saying the guy who presents the English bulletin has quit. So can you please come in? So at that point, at that station, the policy was you can't present the English bulletin and present the Swahili bulletin. So I ended up being the main English news presenter all that time until when I left and joined the BBC.
Now you were in local media stations.
Yes.
In just a second, which of these local media stations offered you the best opportunity to strive?
I think all the stations I learned something, but the most training that I got was from the state radio. They had training sessions, frequent training sessions, and that's when I was taught on how to present, on how to read news, on how to present a music program, on how to behave behind the microphone, you know, how to breathe when you're reading something. So the art of presenting, I got it from the state radio. There were a lot of veterans, a lot of professional presenters who had seen it all, and I did learn from them. And I must say that I you know, they did help me very much in terms of how to use my voice and how to use the tone. Yes. And so that was basically for sound, and that's when I was given a proper lesson about sound, on how important sound is in broadcasting.
Thank you, Salim. And that has been part one of Salim's story, and the following week we shall continue with the conversation on the rise of Salim to BBC.